And so that is the problem with ring culture, because they push this narrative of rings when in reality, they don't value it that much. So just the other week, right? We watched a team in the Oklahoma City Thunder achieve their childhood dream of becoming NBA champions. For the overachievers, right? Multiple rings unlocks a gate to basketball heaven. You can be an all-time great if you have multiple championships. Or does it? When you look at ESPN's top 75 all-time ranking, they push this narrative that rings are everything, but when you actually look at their ranking, it's obvious that it's not. It's obvious that the voters, aka the media, value individual body of work more than just the rings, right? Especially if you weren't the quote-unquote main guy. Right, if you're not the main guy of your basketball team and win a championship, your ring weighs significantly less than the main guy who won the finals MVP or the guy that's considered to be the best player on that team. Right? So, Gilbert Arenas consistently uses Scottie Pippen in this conversation, right? Because Scottie Pippen is a 6-time NBA champion, the sidekick to the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan. But despite being in the history books, he's been a disgruntled former athlete. For the better part of like the last 25 years, Scottie Pippen seems to be mad at Jordan, mad at the Bull, mad at everything. And I'm sure that some of that has to do with Michael Jordan. But I think some of it has to do with the fact that he's ranked 32nd on that ESPN all-time 75 list. But who's ahead of him? Allen Iverson, no ring. Chris Paul, no ring. John Stockton and Karl Malone, who he beat to his rings, but they have no rings, are ranked ahead of him. So, do rings really matter? Now, I think what happened is the media fooled the players and us fans, because growing up and watching the game, we get programmed that championships are everything, right? Rings are everything. So when players without rings try to validate their careers because of the work that they put in, fans are like, you fucking suck, you're trash, you just coping, you're not really that good because you never won. And now there's this constant clash between players and fans that the media started. Some people try to say when you compare different eras, that's when people really decide to throw the rings out there. Is when people are comparing eras, right? But the discrepancy started at the very beginning of the NBA. If you look at the top 10 list, the top 10 players all time, it's very apparent that championships are not everything. Because when Michael Jordan was getting his rings, a lot of people were comparing him to Bill Russell because Bill Russell got 12, right? Bill Russell got 12. Michael Jordan at the time had 1, 2, 3. Before the 6 rings, they were already saying he was better. And everyone's like, well, Bill Russell has 12. But you don't even have to go into a different era. You don't have to go into a different era. Bill Russell with 12 rings, 8 in a row at one point, is ranked 6th all time on ESPN's top 75 list. Who's ahead of him? Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Wilt Chamberlain, who is what? A 2-time NBA champion. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a 5-time NBA champion. Those are his peers. Those were the guys he was beating to get to championships. And they're ranked ahead of him because of their individual body of work. So that is where there is a real disconnect in all of this, right? Because there's this narrative that rings are everything, but when you go to the actual rankings, it's not. And this isn't the first time that the media does this. The media's been doing this because I remember when they were calling Kobe Bryant a ball hog, when they were calling him selfish. People don't remember that they were calling Michael Jordan a ball hog and selfish too. And guess what? Guess what? The ball hog and the selfish player, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, the guys that don't make their teammates better because they don't have a whole bunch of assists, guess what? They have 11 rings combined. Compared to the two players who are the mold for you're supposed to be the guy that makes your teammates better, and Magic Johnson and LeBron James, and they have 9 rings together, compared to Michael Jordan and Kobe who have 11. So what really matters when you look at the top 10 list of all time, 7 out of the 10 average 18.9 field goal attempts for their entire career. Not one season, their entire career. So, in fact, the ball hog, the guy that shoots a whole bunch of times, is actually extremely necessary to not just be an all-time great, but to be a champion. And so all of these narratives that have been pushed throughout the years have put fans and players against each other, because what ends up happening is NBA players don't figure this out until they're 5-10 years, or sometimes not until they retire. And that's why you see guys jumping from team to team to try to validate their careers at the end. And then you see the guys who get a bunch of rings early, they're stuck because now they're 35 trying to put up 30, and it's never going to work. And so that is the problem with ring culture, because they push this narrative of rings when in reality, they don't value it that much.